Welcome to all of you. And I hope you find today's session, interesting and informative because we're going to talk about our experience and the evolution that we are envisioning for the upcoming years, hopefully. So I'm going to take the to remind you, those of you who were with us last week. Um, we were making a comparison between some systems, some other methods, and you were commenting how different, similar they are from ours. Um, I want to remind you that there were a couple of points that are very important. Actually, we were the parameters that we were using to analyze the different methodologies were approach to learning, objectives, who gives the guidelines, who creates the material, class format, evolution, and experience transmission. And we spoke a lot about how different or similar we are from, or in other words, how we are better and worse than the others. But and there are some very important characteristics that we had little time to discuss. So one of them is we kind of started who creates the material. By at this point, you all know that you do, yeah, the teachers. But why and how that impacts um, our system and how different we are from the rest and what evolution that we have ahead of us. This is something that I would like to discuss today with you. So, in the first place, I know that some of you have had come from different experiences and know different providers. So, can you quickly tell me which ones do you know? I recall Fiona knows about Von Systems. She's
Yeah.
got experience with them. Okay. Have you guys been teaching for other platforms, other systems, methodologies? Yes. Which ones do you know? Can you tell me?
Well, sorry, I know Preply,
Yes.
I know Native Camp, I know Angle, and I've worked for all three.
Okay. Do they have their own methods?
Well, yes, but unlike Exinity, there's no way to check the level of the student. Uh, but Preply has a way to check the level before you start teaching. Say, for example, you have to take exams, say a little bit of test, and it will enable the system to tell you, to put you, to scale you, what level you're on. Are you a beginner? Are you an intermediate? Are you an advanced learner? So yes, only Preply has that. Ango doesn't, and neither does Native Camp. You on Native Camp on Ango, you decide the materials you want to take. It's not nobody's dictating to you. You just come and you say, "This is the material I want to take." You can come with
Which
your
is
own materials, and that's it.
which is a synonym? I have nothing. I have no methodology. Off you go.
Yes,
Yeah.
more or less.
Okay. More or less, it is. Yeah. Uh, Vaughan is different. I mean, yeah. Let's face it. Vaughan says, "This is my method. Teach that way." Yeah. When you hear, "Oh, it's up to you," or "It's on you," or whatever, that means I have nothing to provide. I just have students, and off you go. And whether or not students are leveled, it doesn't have to do with the method. It's simply an entrance requirement, more with marketing uh, goals rather than educational. Really, because experienced teachers, if you have been teaching, with the greeting, pretty much you know what level the student is. This is it. So whether or not they do the level, they do a level test, it just has to do with the engagement and entrance requirements, so it's not a method. But do you guys know any actually other methods? Have have you been teaching? Has anyone been teaching, for instance, for Calum School?
No.
No, no, no one. Right.
No. I went to an interview. And I didn't like it because they were, well, it was like against everything I had learned before. But what I had learned, I also don't like it. But they were like, first of all, they had to wear a suit, which really impressed me, but whatever. That already gives you a sign of what type of people are going to be there and how much it costs, I guess. But no, they had like this 9 books of 9 levels. So they had their own system, and the teacher was sort of like a moderator, and it was intense, like, obscenity, da, 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 like, no time to think or not time to, but then it was just like repeating sentences over and over and over and over again, and no time to actually think about it or know maybe meaningful conversation. That's what I remember about how they said this is how we teach, or I could even observe a little bit, and that's how it was. But on the other hand, I have to say that I do have a friend of mine, and he said the method I learned with the most was Callahan, but I spent 2 hours every day in that place. So again, it's also a question of time. Like, no wonder.
Yeah.
So that's
they're one of the biggest providers of English classes for immigrants. Yeah, for immigrants. So they have a lot of people, and they achieve very fast immersion, but they don't work so well, or it's not so effective for high level students. Yeah, because it's that repetitive approach. It's too much. But okay, what I want to basically what I want to conclude is that all methods can have their good and good practices and practices that we can incorporate. Yeah, and throughout the years, you've probably learned a lot of them, a lot of techniques, a lot of tips, a lot of ways of achieving the student to express their ideas and to learn faster. Now, so the question is, how do we transmit that? Or who taught you what you know right now? Or before Oxinity? Who was the one that taught you that? Who have you learned from?
Okay, I'm going to talk again. Okay.
Okay.
I would say something very romantic. I learned from my students, but what I was thinking, I learned by trying. Like, I really learned by trying and see what I thought could work and see how they responded, and refining and repeating. Maybe I also learned by, I said, oh, I want to do a cool activity about this topic. I was always looking for games, and then I went online, I read some input from other teachers that had done stuff, and I tried. So I learned by actually trying. And yes, I had received the previous training, and that also gave me like some tools. But then it's like driving. You might get your driver's theoretical license, but then when you start driving, that's when you really understand how it works. So I guess my best guess would be by trying.
Okay, so by trying, yeah, of course. So let me summarize. You've got an initial training, then you've been you started teaching and trial and error, and then analyzing reactions, etc., etc. Perfect. Trial and error. Yeah, trying. Autumn, how or who taught you? How did you learn?
Let me put my hand down. I learned through Teaching House, and I guess it's like an extension through International House and they have offices around the United States. So I learned through 2 teachers that were working with Teaching House in Atlanta, and I did like an intensive CELTA course, and so I learned like more or less like CELTA, their kind of method, using like more real world examples, not depending so much on the textbook, or more so like adapting the textbook and making it more like having more real life examples. Like some of the conversations that you would see in the dialogues, you'd think, okay, do you need a native speaker? No one's gonna say like, how are you doing? I'm fine, thank you. And you, like, no one says that. And then after I finished my CELTA, I started working for a small like academy in the US, helping immigrants improve their English level to take either the citizenship test or get their green card. So he had a whole different method. It was more just like getting them to speak, not a lot of writing, just speaking. So trying to do more communicative method. So that one was like a different change from what I learned in CELTA. And then when I came to Spain, I was in the beta program as a language assistant, working with elementary, or like working with concertados, like charter schools, I guess would be the right word. And then the teachers had their own method. They're like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I have like a little bit of everything. And then from there, it was a bit of like trial and error to see like what they like. And I think the thing that has helped me the most is trying to relate it to real life experience and real world events, make it more real. Has I think really helped my students or my previous students. They'd say like, oh, I remember your classes, like I remember this exercise we did, like thank you, like I knew what this meant and I could explain to the teacher. So I guess a lot of my background is trying to adapt like real life situations and make them more applicable for my students depending on their levels. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. You think like you have a good idea and then you realize, okay, maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. But like you always have the ability, like I always have the ability later on, like through Oxinity, to like adapt the activity and to like change it. And
That's great. That's wow, amazing experience. Can I just quickly say, Maria, can I ask you to, there is a partner that can find the link, Carla Pericayo, or can you please help her? Thank you. Okay, so Mark, how about you?
Yeah, I think a bit of both what Georgina and Autumn said. I mean, a lot of it is trial and error. You see what works, you see what doesn't work. Sometimes it can be surprising, you know, what the students like and what they don't. You get some feedback afterwards and it's like really positive. So, you know, a lot of seeing what they need. I mean, I've done a lot of company classes, so you pick that up. I mean, I did, like Autumn, I did the CELTA exam. I did that here at the British Language Centre. And then I went to Japan and learned there. I mean, I was teaching there rather. That was a quite a different experience. You know, obviously different culture and different. The students are quite different. But yeah, it's not always as it says in the course that you learn. But different things work better with different people, and really experience is kind of the best teacher, I think. You know, you see certain things and things that work, you repeat them. You know, I think people like, it's curious how people like corrections. You know, people do like to be corrected. You've got to learn how to do it properly. But a lot of people get a bit frustrated. They know their English isn't that good, but you know, nobody corrects them. Often people have to speak English at work, and obviously people aren't going to correct their English there. So just doing that, really, you know. But you do find that you've learned a lot. You get a lot of confidence from experience, and I think that's it. If you also you learn people's. That I think the main problem is a lack of confidence. People need their confidence built up.
Definitely. You learn to be a teacher and you learn about people. Absolutely. How about you, Beth? What was your experience?
Okay, completely different in as much as I literally finished my TOEFL course 1 week, applied for a job. So the next week I started, no experience, nothing whatsoever. And I will never forget my first ever online lesson. A lesson was with a little Chinese girl who was about 5. Didn't want to be there. As soon as I said hello, she burst into tears. And I had half an hour of her screaming. Her mum kept putting her back in front. No experience, absolutely nothing. I had never. So it was literally in at the deep end. So unlike lots of other people, I had absolutely no teaching experience when I started. So it was all just from trying again and building up on that. So a different experience.
I Okay, I think that you've got similar experiences and you've learned different things, and it makes me think this. All of you have made your way at the beginning. Then you came to Xfinity, and realizing it or not, you have brought your experience with you. That's for sure. Now, even though Georgina here dislikes Callan, I can tell you that in Xfinity, that practice can be seen in many activities. That practice, the practice of, for instance, and I love it, it's very valid, the practice of I tell you something twice, they repeat it, yeah, I tell you something twice, then I ask you, and then I help you answer, yeah. We call it model, question, model. Oh, sorry guys, I hear myself with an echo, but it's fine. So model, question, model. And this way of teaching is a fantastic way. If we have to, if this is thanks to the Callan method, then many thanks to them. We have it, yeah? Does that mean that we are similar to Callan? Nothing to do, nothing. But that practice is very present in our S1 level, yeah? The way people learn at the beginning, we think this is a very good model. Let's take the VON systems. Yeah, the VON systems are, well, completely different from us. In the first place, they translate, and again, they have created something that is quite different, business focused, etc., etc. What do they have though is high rhythm, high rhythm. Have we taken it from them? No, it was something that we all decided to do. Is it similar to them in that way? Yes. Can it be found in our activities? Of course. Does it work? Yes, without the translation part. Okay. But what I mean is that anyone here, and all of you mentioned CELTA course, TEFL course, training, etc., etc. Sadly, no one in other organizations, as of my knowledge, make sure that whatever we have learned together, I will pass it on to you. This element is missing usually. Hence, you find yourself thrown in the deep end and you have to survive somehow. There is a gap between the theory of the TEFL course, the environment of the TEFL course, and real teaching practice. There is a big gap. And it's where you start trying and probably succeeding somewhere, failing somewhere, and then by the reactions of your students, Autumn here remembers um, good examples and students' reaction when she did well, and that encouraged her to continue. We have taken a different stance here, and I can tell you that I also remember, and I have to explain that to you because you have come at different moments, and therefore some of you know more, some of you are still to learn a lot about us. Eric, for instance, when did you start? What was when did you, how many years ago? When was it that you started? I don't know if he can hear us, but maybe in 2018, Autumn, when did you start?
I started at the end of 2018 when we were like, before COVID was even a
Before
thought.
COVID. Yes,
And
exactly.
I remember just going around to different businesses and teaching classes and going to different places and seeing, like, I think I had even been in Madrid for a while, and I think I saw all of Madrid or a good portion of Madrid in like 1 week just by like traveling with the bus and stuff. And it was
Exactly.
nice. And it was different
It was
because
it was
like,
different, yeah.
yeah, like in a school, you just either like you go to the next classroom or you go upstairs or you go down the hall. Like you don't have to like, go like to the center of Seoul and then go to like Las Tablas and then like go to Nuevos Ministerios and then like go to like Atocha. Like you don't do all of that in like one day.
Yeah,
And I got a lot of
definitely.
steps on my Fitbit for all of that. I remember.
I bet you do. So, okay, so you started in 2018. Then we have a partner. He's not here with us now, unfortunately, but Ben, you know him, you know Ben. He started turns out, he started in 2013, yeah, with us. And now I can see here very new faces, yeah. So people that are starting today. For us, they're brand new. So how do we make sure that these people learn and we transmit their experience, our experience, what we have learned? Because, right, I have to tell you that ever since we started, that has been an essential part. Yeah, what still remains? Tools have changed, circumstances have changed. Yeah. Before we traveled, now we don't. Before we met in person, now we meet online. Things have changed, but one thing remains the same, which is the decision that we all were going to build this system together. Yeah. And second, that teachers will pass on their experience to teachers. These two things. So I just want you to realize how much you've learned from each other. It's not so evident, but it's there. And speaking of Ben, Ben started first. He did one of the first TEFL courses that we organized. Then he became a TEFL trainer himself. He was. I remember Ben working very hard on a very specific course content, hospitality for the hospitality industry, S1 level. So people that had no idea of English, but were involved in the hospitality industry. Yeah, cleaning services and so on. So he was the one that can witness and can probably next time I'll ask him to join and to explain his first-hand experiences. But right now, there must be someone, if you guys are teaching S1 for the hospitality, someone right now is using Ben's activities, okay? And maybe you don't realize, but right next to every activity in Oxinity, there is a name. If you come up with Ben's activity, if you come up with Mark's activity, think something. I'm learning from the experience of this guy. And next time someone asks, how did you learn? Remember Mark. You'll come up with a lot of his activities. Remember him because he will be a great teacher for you. Mark learned how to do activities and how to teach them from people like Ben that were here before him. But what happens is this magical moment of I take an activity at a certain stage and I bring my experience to it. I add my experience to it. So I'm adding my experience to someone that I don't know. And without realizing, I'm learning from that person as well. So I'm teaching Ben's activity, I'm learning from Ben. But since I evolve, since I add my experience, my activities will be probably a little bit better. Why? Because I'm taking the activities at a certain stage. I'm taking it as my basis and I build on it. So my next activity will certainly be better, than my first activity. Probably those of you who have done our TEFL course will recall your first activities, how different they were from the activities that you produce now. And that's why. Meanwhile, or in between, you've learned a lot. And you haven't learned just from your just from your students. You have learned from your peers, from the other activities writers. Okay, and this is our secret. This is it. This is how we pass experiences from one teacher to another. Now, you guys tell me who else has that. Well, uh, Fiona can argue. Vaughn, they have all these materials that are. Who writes it? Was it you? Did you bring your experience to it? Probably not. And they're missing that part. They're missing the Fiona element. They will never have it. They haven't they haven't enabled a mechanism to have the Fiona contribution, the Fiona element. They will miss it it will be lost for them. Who will have it? Us, Oxinity. Why? Because every time Fiona takes an activity and teaches it and corrects it and improves it, we will have it. We store it, and you guys learn from it, right? And this,
Radmila, sorry,
yes,
could I just ask? I've found that since you explained to me a while ago that you can actually update and edit activities on the fly, as it were, as you go, that has really helped me, because and I hope it's helped other teachers in Oxinity as well, because it used to frustrate me if I saw like odd errors in activities that were great activities but had maybe been put together really quickly. Because I mean, I have to say, it's so impressive that we are constantly providing new topics the whole time, current things, because my previous experience was working with materials that were starting to get old and stale, and the freshness of the Oxinity activities, I think, is really great. So, okay, maybe something's been put together really quickly and there might be a few odd errors in it. I now find that now I know I have the ability technically to update something to make it as perfect as it can be, then I'm doing that, and I'm hoping that it will, improve it for the next person who's going to use it. And it's made me think, hey, I would really like to start creating activities myself. I haven't actually personally created any activities, but there are so many that I could do. I just kind of need to find out how to do it.
And you will do them. And I can only be very, very, very thankful for that attitude of yours, because this is exactly what Oxinity is about. I take an activity at one stage. Okay, I see that it can be improved. I do it. Thank you for that. Really, thank you for that. And I leave it a little bit better for the rest of the people. This is the Oxinity essence. This is it. Who made it happen? You, all of you. So, who is Oxinity? You are, yeah. That's why we're called IamOxinity.com, because every single one of you is part of it. Are you ready to create activities? Of course you are, more than ready. Who taught you? You can say, I taught myself. How? Because I have something to rely on, yeah, a basis, this activity. It's my, let's say that it's my initial parameter, and I will build upon that. Yeah, so anyone here can be a better version of themselves if you guys use that. And if you start producing activities, you will see how your experience, the one that you got at Vaughan, the one that you got with your learners, will be present in that activity. And that's our magic. This is how we transmit activities from one person to another, experience from one person to another. I hope Bev decides to do activities as well, because all these things that she has learned, she will put them in practice, and that ensures the best system. Now you can argue, Oxinity is not the best system today. True. But tell me which practices are better. Those that we don't have, we will have. Tomorrow we can be better. We will be better. We have created the mechanism to be better. If today we're not good, tomorrow we will be better. This happens, something that the Callan method cannot say, unfortunately. Yeah, something that Preply will never be able to say. They have nothing, just a platform. They don't allow any interaction between their members. You have Friday Talk now. We learn from each other, and you can say it's a way of passing experience. It is. It's a beautiful way, and I enjoy it tremendously. But the way we really transmit experience, is with the activities. Okay, so people are focused on results. We are focused on the process. The process is amazing, and you are in it. So every single one of you is Oxinity. Every single one of you makes it happen. That's why we have a better system. And if right now, Garrett, who may know something, I don't know, that comes from a completely different background and we don't have it, I'm sure he will make sure to include it. Yeah, because he will have found a better way to teach something that we don't know yet, right? So this is what Obscenity is. This is it. Guys, any questions from you? Do you have any comments, any questions, especially the new people, Gareth and Carla and Melissa, Sarah, anything on your part? No? No? All good. Okay, so just to recap, just allow me these final words. Just remember a simple idea to transmit experiences through activities. Okay, you teach this activity from other teachers and you learn from the ones that have been shared with you. On the other hand, the way to share your experience is to write an activity yourself, and then the rest everyone will learn. There are no better and good activities, just teachers that have created activities at a different stage. You can edit them, you can take the Fiona's attitude and improve them as well. And if we are not better today, we will be better tomorrow. I hope who are here enjoy creating activities and also contribute with activities to the system. So I run out of time, but let's call it a day now, and I will see you guys in the growth webinar. Yeah. So we switch to the growth webinar. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you. See you in a minute.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.